So I'm going to be talking about Riemann sums and how to find the area under a curve, and this is by using the sums of areas of individual rectangles. You can do this by splitting up the graph into smaller rectangles and find those areas in order to add it up and get an estimate of the actual area. So to do this, you need a couple of variables. So first is n, which is the number of rectangles with equal width. So this is however many rectangles you're going to split the graph into. And then change in x is the width of each rectangle, so it's the actual number value of however wide the rectangle is. And then f of x is going to be your height of each rectangle, so this will differ with each rectangle, and then that's what you're going to be adding up. So area of a rectangle is length times width. So when you have a lot of different rectangles and they all have the same width, you can just do the width times the individual heights all at once, so that makes the process a little bit easier, and then the sum of that is your estimate of the overall curve. So now we're going to jump over here and do an example. So problem number 2 says set up an estimate of the area between the curve g of x and the x-axis using lower Riemann sums with 4 subintervals of equal length for -2 to 2. So the problem is asking about this curve between the curve and the x-axis. So it wants it to divide it up into 4 subintervals, so that's our n, that's however many rectangles there are going to be. And it wants us to do lower Riemann sums, so we're going to do the left side, which means we're going to hit the graph on the left side. Our rectangle is going to be up to the graph on the left side. So we're just going to divide it into 4 rectangles. From -2 to 2. And for this graph, they all have the same width, and that's pretty easy to tell because it's a really simple graph. But if they didn't, you could use the equation change of x is equal to b minus a divided by n. So in this case, our b would be 2, and our a would be -2, which would end up being 4 over 4, which is equal to 1, because n is however many rectangles we have, which is 4. So if they were uneven, that would give us the change in x, which we can easily see is just 1 here. So now that we have that, we have our change in x, which is equal to 1. And then now we can do the individual heights of each rectangle. So for this rectangle, it's going to be about 1 1/4. And then this one, the height is 2.5. This one is going to be at 4, and then this one is going to be at 1.5. So then you can add up all those numbers and then multiply it by your change in x, and that will give you an estimate. It'll be a little bit under because we use left hand, but that'll give you an estimate of the area under this curve in the x-axis.